Welcome to this quick little video here, how we got here, right? Let's clear up a bunch of garbage. There's a lot of hot garbage out there with regards to solar and everything. So this is real quick. We're going to go through here, but it starts at the top. So August 16th of 2022, Congress passed legislation. They didn't ask you, they didn't ask me. That legislation was to electrify the American grid, okay? Now, when Congress passes a law, obviously, they have to release the money for it. It trickles down to you and I as homeowners. So I'm going to unpack this one here. August 16, 2022, Congress. First and foremost, you got to understand that is bipartisan. You had Republican, Democrat, got it, put that into law. So it's not going to matter in this next election. It's staying there. This bill simply funded the early 2000 Energy Act. Okay? Congress did not ask you or me. They don't really care what my opinion is. But here's what happened. Through force, the utility company across the board are under green mandates. For you and I, it's now ComEd. Okay? So ComEd is under green mandates. Even if you're in Naperville or another part of the suburbs where you actually pay the municipality, it's all the same. ComEd is under green mandates. By 2025, that's 6.5 months from now, they must be delivering 30% of their energy is green energy. And the big one is in 10 years, 2035, that goes to 70%. I could make this entire video right here. ComEd does not make green energy. Okay? So where do they get their green energy from? Well, if you actually are paying attention, take a look on top of every Home Depot. Just Google map it. On top of every Target. On top of Walmart's. On top of Amazon's. Right? And you see everything on homes as well. ComEd gets the green energy from you and I as the consumers. And so whatever your bill is, it is about to triple or quadruple because it cannot. The only way this takes place is everybody starts participating. So this is the big mystery of going, nobody's really paying attention to this. ComEd is asking you. They're almost begging you. They're marketing. They're if you pay attention, if you actually go to ComEd.com, you'll see their solar pages, and they don't even install solar. Okay? So now we understand this. The honeymoon period is over. Let's talk about the money. Congress released $500 billion into escrow. $500 billion. How does Congress get money out? Well, they don't just write checks and send them to you and I. Just no different than Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are government-backed agencies for home mortgages. Well, August 16, 2022, the third lender got created. That lender is called PACE. It's an acronym for Property Assessed Clean Energy. So all the lenders within PACE are the lenders that get out that $500 billion to residential, commercial, industrial, as well as all nonprofits as well. That trickles down to the community. Today, as a builder, if I were to build a new home for you, that home has to have a minimum of a 400 amp service. Why? Because everything in that home in the future, starting now, is all going electric. Everything, okay? Also, parking, something we kind of take for granted. Multifamily commercial parking now is mandated that a percentage of that has to be EV ready on that, okay? So pretty significant. And now all of a sudden, if we start looking backwards, we see history starting to repeat itself. 1956, similar thing took place. The Federal Highway Act. Congress passed the Federal Highway Act because they were going to build the first superhighway, right? To connect Chicago to New York, to California, to Disney World. And so before that, it would take you days and weeks to actually travel the country because there was no highway system here. And we are creatures of habit. We don't like change. Same thing as right now. The uproar that took place, the high-speed highway is not the answer. People before highways, superhighway, super hoax. We do not like change. However, we get the benefit of the highway system now, and you and I love it, right? But the interesting thing, the most critical component of that Highway Act was not the highway itself. It wasn't the bridges and the infrastructure. It wasn't the concrete and asphalt. It was the gas station that the federal government funded and had to put every 50 to 70 miles because the only way to get you and I to go from one part of the country to the other is right there with the fuel. That leads us right back into today, because what happened in January? It got cold. And when it gets cold, all these new EVs, they don't operate well, right? And so at O'Hare, you had all the stranded vehicles. Interesting. April 1st, 2024, Illinois adopted the brand new Federal Energy Act that simply says, here's the bill, that 5% of the parking spaces have to be EV ready, meaning you have to have the pedestals on. So any commercial parking multifamily has to have the pedestals. The big one is this one. All building permits issued 90 days after the effective date, April 1st, shall require 100% of its total parking spaces EV capable. That means all the conduit, all the transformers, and everything's got to be under the parking lot and be ready to be hooked up in the future at any point in time. So you can put a pedestal on there. That is enormous. And that is how quickly everything is changing. Now, the funding source that you guys need to understand, the funding is coming from the federal, the state, and utility. And there's two ways that this takes place. One is through ownership, and one is through a lease, aka a PPA. This is the way that it used to be done in the last 10 to 15 years. One might be better than the other. It usually is, but depending on the situation, depending on a few different variables, one actually is going to be more beneficial to you. Everything, ironically, starts with a ComEd bill or utility bill, because that bill will show a 13-month history, and that's what we need to actually get into engineering. And the biggest question I get is does it really work? And this picture says 1,000 words. I had no idea that every satellite in outer space is powered by solar panels. There's no maintenance. There's no one up there washing them. There's no extension cord. There's no maintenance done to these things. There's tens of thousands in orbit, and they cost $1 quadrillion to put in outer space, and they stay in outer space for decades. What is taking place now is simply a transformation whereby I am now the producer of energy on my house, and ComEd is now the consumer. That's what you're seeing in the photo below. That's all that's taken place. Every home here, that solar energy goes right back into the grid. This home doesn't even use the solar energy. Most people go, whoop, what did you say? The homes don't even use the solar energy. And so this is such a critical component for you guys to understand what is taking place and how to take advantage, because if you don't, you're going to be in some significant pain as the bill starts to go chaotic here. So appreciate the opportunity. You can get a hold of us directly just with that text message. If you want to yell at me, go for it. You can email us there. Or if you found this on a QR code and there's a link there, honestly, that's the quickest way to even take this to the next step, where we actually get into the design. Like what's next? And so, all right, let's look at the design. How does the design work? And so once you understand that, got it, then you understand, okay, does this make sense for my home or not? So I appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully this makes way more sense for you guys here as the consumers here. Appreciate it very much. Look forward to you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.